Two illegal immigrants charged with a deadly jet ski accident at Grapevine Lake will remain in jail despite having bond assigned to their cases. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. The case has generated a lot of attention among the public and politicians. Dicurlin Alejandra Gonzalez and Michael Coelho Perozo are Venezuelan nationals who crossed the border illegally. They were picked up and then released. Gonzalez is now charged with manslaughter for the hit-and-run death of 18-year-old Ava Moore. Police say Gonzalez was speeding on a jet ski Sunday afternoon when she collided with Moore, who was in a kayak. Police say the suspect then took off in a getaway car driven by Perozo, striking two other vehicles along the way. Both were later arrested. Gonzalez is charged with manslaughter, and despite pressure to hold her with no bond, a judge set her bond at $500,000. Perozo's bond a little more than $3,000 on less serious charges. Fox 4 Sean Rabb joins us now to answer some questions that we have about this. Sean, first, each suspect now has an immigration hold on them. What does that mean?
Basically, it means that even if they post bond, they'll stay in custody until they answer the state charges against them or until they're deported. ICE would pick them up if either posted bond and take them to a federal facility, or they might stay in the Tarrant County Jail where they are now.
Is it realistic for them to make bail? And if they could make bail, what is that going to mean for them?
Well, Gonzalez was the driver of the jet ski at a high speed that hit Ava Moore and caused her death. She and Perozo were arrested Tuesday in Oak Cliff. You'll recall we were there as really a task force of officers from several agencies surrounded a house and brought them both out. It's possible Perozo could post bond. His is set at 30.
A justice of the peace is accused of threatening a defendant into taking a plea deal.
His name's Robert Jenkins Franklin. That's the Rains County Justice of the Peace. Is now facing multiple charges. The case actually began in 2023. Fox 4's David Santendri is in Rains County tonight with more. David.
Yeah, I've been in contact with someone close to the victim for several weeks now about a recently filed lawsuit, but even that person was surprised, caught off guard to learn that this judge was arrested last night. Rarely do we see a judge criminally charged, but that's what happened Wednesday night to Judge Robert Jenkins Franklin, Justice of the Peace in Rains County, about 80 miles east of Dallas. On May 1st, a man named Kobe Wiebe filed a federal lawsuit against Judge Franklin, claiming that back in October of 2023, Judge Franklin issued him a death threat for a case that the judge was not even presiding over. The claim is, during a 19-second phone call to Wiebe, who was facing a felony charge, Judge Franklin allegedly said, "I heard you have a problem with me, boy. You take that deal, boy, or dead men can't testify." The lawsuit says the call happened 2 days before Wiebe chose to take a plea deal for that felony instead of going to trial. But Wiebe later provided phone records showing Judge Franklin called him, and he even took a lie detector test discussing the threat and passed. According to a court filing, the district attorney vacated Wiebe's sentence after it found evidence an elected official coerced him to make the plea. This week, a Rains County grand jury met and chose to indict Judge Franklin, charges of official oppression and tampering with a witness for that phone call with Wiebe. Now, the judge is also facing the same charges in a different matter, allegedly trying to convince his chief clerk to falsify an affidavit, as well as pressuring her to testify in his favor regarding that civil lawsuit.
Seems to go against everything you would expect the judge to be doing.
Russell Wilson, a former Dallas County prosecutor, not connected to this case.
I mean, certainly you've seen a variety of allegations of misconduct made against professionals from all walks of life, including those in the judiciary.
Still, Wilson says it's rare to see a judge charged. He wonders what motive Judge Franklin may have had, and since the judge was not overseeing this case, did he have other connections?
Why would this judge want to try to influence this person in this way?
Judge Franklin posted a $25,000 bond, so he is out of jail. I reached out to his office for comment earlier today, but we have yet to hear back. Now, the district attorney from Van Zandt County, that's about 25 miles south of here, I'm told that district attorney will be acting as a special prosecutor for this criminal case. As for Wiebe, we did reach out, but we are told that he does not want to comment at this point in time as his attorney is out of town, but might be doing so in the future. For now, Steve, Heather, back to y'all.
All right, that's David Centenary in Rains County tonight. David, thank you. Investigators say the two suspects for a deadly jet ski hit and run had their bags packed and they were ready to go when they were arrested.
DeCarolyn Gonzalez accused of driving the jet ski when it hit and killed 18-year-old Ava Moore over the weekend. A man, Mikhail Perozzo, is also facing charges. Today, Moore's family released their first public statement about the crash. Fox 4's David Centenary joining us now with more. David.
Yeah, Ava Moore's story is spreading across the country, and tonight her family is sending a message of forgiveness. Ava Moore's family most grateful for prayers after the 18-year-old struck by a jet ski died while kayaking on Grapevine Lake Sunday.
This is a difficult time for all involved, but also an opportunity for our beautiful girl to continue to impact our community.
A City of Grapevine spokesperson reading a statement from Moore's family Wednesday.
Out of this tragedy, God will make good, and that only can be accomplished through forgiveness.
While Moore's family preaches forgiveness, the criminal process continues. DeCarolyn Gonzalez and Mikhail Perozzo, two illegal immigrants from Venezuela, charged in connection to Moore's death. The two arrested at an Oak Cliff home Tuesday. On Wednesday, ICE officials reported they crossed the border in 2023. Both arrested at time of entry, processed for notice to appear, and released. After Moore was struck, a bystander took this photo, shown in an arrest warrant, of Gonzalez and Perozzo. Moments later, police say the two fled in a vehicle and crashed into two separate vehicles. A Ring camera image shows them running away after the second crash. Ultimately, it was this photo of Gonzalez game wardens released to the public that led to her arrest by generating nearly 1,000 tips.
We received more than 900 tips from the public, which helped us provide a quick resolution for the family.
Texas game wardens have not revealed who owns the jet ski, how Gonzalez came to occupy it, if alcohol was involved, or the relationship between Gonzalez and Perozzo. According to an arrest affidavit, Gonzalez was recklessly making multiple passes along the shoreline at a high rate of speed and in close proximity to swimmers and kayakers.
When you do things out on the public waters, when you make decisions, they not typically only affect you, but they will affect the people around you.
Moore was trying to kayak away from the jet ski, according to a witness.
This case has profoundly affected our community.
And forever affected a family hoping to see their daughter live on to carry out her dreams in the military.
They need time right now, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to give it to them.
Texas game wardens say additional charges are possible. Their next step is to reconstruct that crash scene. Steve, Heather, back to y'all.
All right, David Centenary live tonight. Thank you, David.
The deadly crash on Grapevine Lake has grown into the latest chapter in the political debate over illegal immigration. Investigators say both the suspect and her accomplice are Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. In a statement, ICE says both are now in removal proceedings. They both entered the U.S. again illegally in 2023. After their arrests, Governor Abbott took to social media saying, "Welcome to Texas. Here's your death penalty."
This is designed to stir up the base, and the governor's language today, where he says, "Welcome to Texas, here's your death penalty," it is not consonant with what actually happened. There was a crime committed. It was very serious, but it's not death penalty eligible. And so why would he say that except to stir up the MAGA base?
It has been almost 7 months since a Rowlett teenage girl was shot in the back while fighting another girl. She survived. Rowlett police hope you can help them identify the shooter, a young man who was not in the scuffle. Fox 4's Sean Rabb has the shaky cell phone video police want you to see.
We are in Rowlett. This is Detective Brian McKenzie, and we want to talk about an event, a shooting that happened here Halloween, October 31st.
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
This past Halloween at about 9:19 p.m., we got called to a shooting here in the 9100 block of Waterview Parkway. Hundreds of families were in the area with their kids trick-or-treating when a fight broke up amongst a group of juvenile high school-aged girls.
Okay.
Two of the girls went to the ground fighting. While they were on the ground, an unknown male came up behind them and shot one of the females in the back. After the shooting, everyone took off.
Tell me about the guy who did the shooting.
Yes, sir. Witnesses described him as a dark-complected male with medium-length dreadlocks, wearing a red hoodie, black pants, and black shoes.
So, was he in the fight?
No, he was not involved.
Two girls fighting?
Two girls fighting. They're on the ground fighting, and he comes from behind, uninvolved, and shoots her almost point blank in the back.
When I look at the video, though, somebody will know him, especially a mama or daddy will know him from behind even, don't you think?
I believe so. There were so many people out here that night. We believe that more than enough people know who he is. We think there's more cell phone video that we have that might show who he is, or that other people might actually know who he is now. One witness has been able to give us a nickname of CJ, but at the time, that's all the information we have.
What do you need?
I need public's help. Whatever they can give us, cell phone video, any information they can give us about CJ, anything that can help us bring this person to justice for our victim and her family.
How can folks get at you, Detective Brad McKenzie?
They can either call me at my desk, which is 972-412-6211, or they can email me, which is bmckenzie, BMCKENZIE @rowlett.com.
All right, Detective Brad McKenzie needs you to get at him, his phone number or his email. Help find this kid, maybe nicknamed CJ, but the kid in this red sweatshirt or hoodie, black jeans, dreads, who is he? Get at the detective. Help solve the shooting, Halloween night, trick-or-treat night here in the 9100 block of Waterview Parkway in Rowlett.
And you can also watch past Trackdown stories and maybe help solve a crime. Go to the Fox 4 YouTube page, youtube.com/Fox 4 News. Good evening, I'm Clarice Tinsley. Investigators released more details on arrests connected to the deadly jet ski hit and run on Grapevine Lake Memorial Day weekend. Fox 4 News was there Tuesday morning when authorities arrested Dykerlin Gonzalez as well as Mikel Perozzo, who police say helped Gonzalez flee the scene by car. ICE confirms both are Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. Police say Gonzalez hit 18-year-old kayaker Ava Moore with the jet ski Sunday. Moore, a recent U.S. Air Force Academy prep school graduate, died from her injuries. Law enforcement says about 900 tips poured in. An arrest affidavit reveals that ring video sent in by a tipster as well as facial recognition software helped authorities identify and locate the two suspects at a home in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas yesterday.
It's my understanding both individuals crossed the southern border in 2023 or 2024. They were arrested at the time of entry, processed for a notice to appear, and then released on their own recognizance.
The arrest report states that Perozzo told authorities he helped Gonzalez escape to keep her from being captured for killing the victim. It also states that the two of them were found hiding in the house with a packed suitcase as they intended not to return for some time. Ava Moore's death has also become a political topic as an example of violent crimes committed by people who were in the United States illegally. Fox 4 Stephen Dial in the newsroom with that side of the story. Stephen.
Clarice, Governor Abbott posted on social media, "Welcome to Texas. Here's your death penalty." But the state charges in this case would not qualify for the death penalty. Still, this story is getting political attention because the suspects crossed the border illegally. They were detained and then released into this country. The death of 18-year-old Ava Moore has become the latest chapter in the political back and forth over illegal immigration. Moore, who was heading to the Air Force Academy, was killed by a reckless jet ski rider on Lake Grapevine. Police say the suspect, 21-year-old Dykerlin Alejandra Gonzalez, left the scene with the help of an accomplice, Mikel Perozzo. Investigators say both are Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally. After the arrest, Governor Abbott took to social media saying, quote, "Welcome to Texas. Here's your death penalty."
This is designed to stir up the base, and the governor's language today, where he says, "Welcome to Texas, here's your death penalty," it is not consonant with what actually happened. There was a crime committed. It was very serious, but it's not death penalty eligible. And so why would he say that except to stir up the MAGA base?
Attorney General Ken Paxton also called attention to the case quickly. The headline of his news release was 2 illegal aliens arrested in connection to the death of a woman on Lake Grapevine. Among Republicans, this is an example of the shift from talking about the surge at the border to serious crimes committed by illegal immigrants. Illegal border crossings have sharply declined since President Trump took office.
What do you think the lasting power is on using, these narratives? Is this something that Republicans could carry into the midterms?
There are themes and stories and examples that both parties think played well for them. This is one that Republicans believe play well for them.
Lawmakers in the Texas legislature have pushed for bills that would create new laws addressing illegal immigrant crimes. One that is still up in the air is Senate Joint Resolution 1. If it clears the legislature and governor, there would be a public vote to create automatic no-bond conditions for illegal immigrants accused of certain crimes. SMU political scientist Cal Jilson said we will continue to see 2 tracks: issues play out in court and in the court of public opinion.
In a court of law, you have to present arguments and evidence to sustain your criminal charge. In politics, you don't have to.
Going back to the governor's post about the death penalty, I talked to 2 lawyers today on the phone who told me that in their opinion, their legal opinion, there's no way this case can be upgraded to a death penalty case.
Stephen, thank you.
During a news conference this morning, investigators released more details about the arrests for a deadly hit and run on Grapevine Lake Memorial Day weekend. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager.
I'm Heather Hayes. Law enforcement officials say hundreds of tips poured in leading to those arrests. They also confirmed both suspects were in the country illegally. Fox 4's Alex Boyer joins us now with more. Alex.
Hey guys, and at a news conference held here at the Grapevine Police Department, an ICE official confirms to us that the 2 suspects are Venezuelan nationalists who came into this country illegally. We also learned from an arrest warrant affidavit that Ring camera video sent in by a tipster, as well as facial recognition software and previous police reports, helped investigators identify and locate the suspects. Di Caroline Gonzalez and Michael Perozzo remain in jail Wednesday, charged in connection to the death of 18-year-old Ava Moore. Gonzalez allegedly hit 18-year-old Moore with a jet ski while the teen was kayaking on Grapevine Lake over Memorial Day weekend. Moore died from her injuries. At a news conference, Captain Joseph Quintero said state law requires that all watercraft stay at least 50 feet away from other vessels or the shoreline.
Obviously, if they had applied that law as they were supposed to, this incident wouldn't have happened.
Quintero says it's unclear if alcohol played a role in the incident. Investigators are also working to determine who owned the jet ski. Moore was a recent U.S. Air Force Academy preparatory school graduate. Immediately after her death at the lake, a witness shared a photo of the suspect with Texas game wardens who released it to the public. Witnesses told police the jet ski operator was able to elude bystanders and ran to an older model blue Toyota Corolla where a Hispanic male was yelling at her to hurry up and get into the car. The driver, later identified as Perozzo, admitted to police after his arrest that he hit other vehicles while fleeing from the lake and that eventually he pulled over and ran away with Gonzalez. Police say they received around 900 tips from the community and also used facial recognition software and police reports from other agencies to confirm the suspect identities. Included in the arrest warrant were these 2 photos of the suspects taken after the deadly encounter. Fox 4 was there on Tuesday when the duo was arrested Tuesday morning at a home in the Oak Cliff neighborhood of Dallas. Both are Venezuelan nationals who entered the country illegally.
It's my understanding both individuals crossed the southern border in 2023 or 2024. They were arrested at the time of entry, processed for a notice to appear, and then released on their own recognizance.
The arrest report states that Perozzo told authorities he helped Gonzalez escape to keep her from being captured for the deadly collision. It also states that both suspects were hiding in the house with a packed suitcase as they intended not to return for some time. A victim services advocate read a statement on behalf of the Moore family, who says they are grateful for the outpouring of support.
This is a difficult time for all involved, but also an opportunity for our beautiful girl to continue to impact our community. Out of this tragedy, God will make good, and that only can be accomplished through forgiveness.
So Gonzalez is charged with second-degree manslaughter. Meanwhile, Perozzo is charged with accident involving injury as well as hindering apprehension. Now they'll face those state charges before being turned over, I'm told, to immigration authorities. Back to you.
Right, and Alex, the governor actually posted a response to the arrest on X saying, "Welcome to Texas. Here is your death penalty."
Yeah, so that is interesting. It's not a capital murder case, right? So does that indicate that he's encouraging law enforcement to try to upgrade the charges, or is that even possible at this point? What are you hearing?
So it's interesting, you know, that post came out just before the news conference this morning. So reporters asked the captain who is there representing game wardens about that tweet, that post, I should say. And he said in response that he reiterated again that Gonzalez is charged with manslaughter at this point, and he did not offer any further comment. However, afterwards, I did speak with a criminal defense attorney not involved in this case about the governor's post, and here's what he had to say.
I think that's just political hyperbole, if you will. This was appropriately charged by the district attorney's office as manslaughter. It was conscious disregard of the health and safety of others. It does not rise to the level of something that would require the death penalty. That would take an intentional or knowing act, which doesn't exist here.
So with that being said, I can tell you that the acting director of the ICE field office here in Dallas said at the press conference today that he believes that no bond is appropriate in this case, given their legal status, and wants them to stay in jail as this plays out through the legal system. Back to you.
All right, Alex Boyer, thank you.
In a news conference this morning, investigators released a few more details into the arrests in a deadly hit and run on Grapevine Lake Memorial Day weekend. Law enforcement says hundreds of tips poured in leading up to the arrests. Fox 4's Peyton May was at today's media briefing and has more.
Police say 18-year-old Ava Moore was hit and killed by a jet ski while kayaking over Memorial Day weekend. Now, as this investigation continues, local authorities and now ICE officials are involved.
I can speak to both individuals that were previously mentioned here were Venezuelan nationals in the country illegally.
Authorities say Carolyn Gonzalez was the driver of the jet ski and allegedly fled the scene with Mikel Perozzo after hitting Ava Moore. While leaving the area, police say the suspects hit two other vehicles. According to arrest records, bystanders tried to restrain the suspects, but people they were with helped them escape. Both suspects were arrested in Oak Cliff. Our Fox 4 photographer Ricardo Cortez was there as law enforcement surrounded a home off Atlas Drive.
Through tips and basically just good, hard detective work, we were able to narrow down the area or the house where we believe the suspects were. And that's where we found them. As they were observing and watching, we were able to finally use the information provided by the public and the detective work to locate them there.
Investigators will now bring in forensic and mapping teams and use technology to recreate the crash scene.
As we continue to investigate this tragic incident, more charges could be filed.
Ava Moore was a recent U.S. Air Force Academy preparatory school graduate. Following her death, someone shared a photo of the suspect with Texas game wardens who released it to the public. Police say they received around 900 tips from the community trying to identify the woman. Now, Tuesday morning, authorities identified her as Carolyn Gonzalez. She's charged with felony manslaughter, and her bond is set at $500,000. ICE officials say she and Perozzo are in the United States illegally and will be facing state charges before being turned over to ICE authorities. Reporting in Grapevine, Peyton May, Fox 4 News.
Anthony, first just state your name and spell it for me.
Anthony Farmer, Anthony. Last name Farmer, Farmer.
And you're a criminal defense attorney?
Yes, that's part of the hat I wear as an attorney, correct.
Thank you so much. So I was talking to you a little bit by phone about, the high-profile case in Grapevine involving this tragic jet ski death. The suspects being charged with second-degree felony manslaughter by the game wardens. Abbott, in response to news articles that had been posted on social media this morning, a link to the story and saying, welcome to Texas, death penalty case. What do you make of that? Is there a possibility this could rise to that kind of charge?
Yeah, I think that's just political hyperbole, if you will. This was appropriately charged by the district attorney's office as manslaughter. It was conscious disregard of the health and safety of others. It does not rise to the level of something that would require the death penalty. That would take an intentional or knowing act, which doesn't exist here.
Gotcha. Anything else, Anthony, in that regard that you'd want to add to this? Because to your point, there could be additional charges, and I think the game warden even said that there could be additional charges filed in conjunction to this case. But it would seem, I guess, in your expert opinion, just glancing over this, the facts of this case, nothing would rise to the occasion that you would get a charge of a death penalty. Nope, there went your phone.
Yeah, that's correct. The fact that there was an accident and then the suspects allegedly fled would warrant further charges in the state of Texas for failing to stop and provide the adequate information during the scene of an accident. And so there will be additional charges in addition to the manslaughter charges.
Gotcha. But again, nothing that would rise to the occasion of a death penalty case. It looks like you're.
That is correct. That is correct. There will be no charges that rise to the level of a death penalty. The state would likely lose in that case based upon the facts and circumstances of this case. There are allegations that the suspects were driving at a high rate of speed, operating machinery at a high rate of speed, despite a packed lake on Grapevine Lake. However, that does not mean they intended to commit the act or knowingly committed the act. It's more of a reckless mind state.
Sure. Anthony, appreciate your time, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Good morning. If everyone's ready, we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Maggie Berger, and I'm a spokesperson for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Law Enforcement Division. Thank you all so much for attending and giving us the opportunity to speak about the fatal incident on Grapevine Lake that took the life of 18-year-old Ava Moore. Texas Game Warden Captain Joseph Quintero will be providing information about the incident. Amanda McNew will speak on behalf of the Grapevine Police Department, and then we will have a few minutes for questions. Please be aware that some details may be unavailable at this time to preserve the integrity of the investigations. Now I'll turn things over to Captain Joseph Quintero.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. On the evening of May 25th, Texas Game Wardens, Grapevine Police Department, and Grapevine Fire Department responded to a call regarding a boating collision that had occurred on Grapevine Lake, in which a personal watercraft struck 18-year-old kayaker Ava Moore. A personal watercraft, which had 2 females on board, was being driven at a high rate of speed near the shoreline of Oak Grove Park when the incident occurred. The woman left the immediate area following the collision and returned the personal watercraft to Oak Grove Park. The passenger remained on shore with the witnesses as the Grapevine Fire Department began life-saving measures on Miss Moore. The driver, 21-year-old Carolyn Alejandra Gonzalez from Venezuela, fled the scene in a vehicle with 21-year-old Michael Cogeo Boroso. While leaving the area, the vehicle collided with 2 other vehicles. The investigation into the automotive hit and run will be led by the Grapevine Police Department. Ms. Moore was transported to the local hospital where she was pronounced deceased. Ms. Gonzalez and Mr. Peroso were arrested in Dallas on May 27th. Ms. Gonzalez was booked at the Grapevine Police Department on manslaughter charges, which is a second-degree felony. Mr. Peroso was charged with collision involving a damage to a vehicle, which is a Class B misdemeanor, and hindering apprehension, which is a Class A misdemeanor. As we continue to investigate this tragic incident, more charges could be filed. The Texas Game Warden Forensics Reconstruction and Mapping Team will be aiding in the next part of this investigation. Recreating the collision will allow us to have a clearer picture to what happened that day. We will be updating the public once the investigation is complete and appreciate everyone's patience as we diligently worked to conclude this case. We would like to take the opportunity to thank not only our local, state, and federal law enforcement officers, to include Grapevine Police Department, DPS, CID, ICE, the AG's office, Dallas Police Department, and the Game Warden Special Investigations Unit. But we would also like to thank the public for reporting information on the tip line. We received more than 900 tips from the public, which helped us provide a quick resolution for the family. We send our deepest condolences to the family during this difficult time, and we ask the public to allow them to grieve privately. Thank you.
My name is Amanda McNew. I'm the media manager for Grapevine Police. I want to start by thanking our partners at Texas Game Wardens. They have led the investigation into the tragic death of 18-year-old Ava Moore, and we are grateful for their dedication and professionalism. I also want to thank all of our federal, state, and local partners, the Texas Attorney General's Office, Texas Department of Public Safety, Dallas Police, Irving Police, and Homeland Security. Immediately following the lake incident, Grapevine Police launched an investigation into the hit and run. After the collision on the water, the woman believed to be responsible got into a car with a man who then hit two cars and fled the scene. That prompted an immediate search for both suspects. Thanks to the collaboration between our agencies, the dedication of our detectives day and night, and the critical tips from our public, both suspects are in custody and in our jail right now. This case has profoundly affected our community. While we understand that no arrest can undo the heartbreak to Ava Moore's family, we want to do everything we can to support her family while they ask for privacy and grieve. They need time right now, and we want to make sure that we do everything we can to give it to them and to be there for anything that they need. I'd like to bring up our victim services advocate, Michaela Moore, who's been in contact with the family and has a statement from them.
On behalf of Ava Moore's family, they would like to say, we are so thankful for the countless messages and demonstrations of love and support, but most grateful for the many prayers we have received. This is a difficult time for all involved, but also an opportunity for our beautiful girl to continue to impact our community. Out of this tragedy, God will make good, and that only can be accomplished through forgiveness. We respectfully ask for our time and privacy to grieve, and thank you for all of your kindness and support. God bless. Thank you.
We'll now open it up for questions.
What led authorities, please, to this arrest in Dallas exactly, and where was the male suspect caught?
Ultimately, what led to the arrest was the, as we were saying earlier, working together with our partners in law enforcement. Through tips and basically just good, hard detective work, we were able to narrow down the area or the house where we believe the suspects were. And that's where we found them. As they were observing and watching, we were able to finally use the information provided by the public and the detective work to locate them there.
You said that the female suspect is from Venezuela. Do you know if they've been living here in Dallas?
So anything in reference to their immigration status or anything like that, I can't really speak to. I'd have to refer that to our colleagues at HSI and ICE.
Are there any other charges expected potentially? And can you speak to the girl in the blue hair who you all say did stay behind? It appears from video that she only stayed behind because the public got involved and basically made her stay.
So at this time, we don't have any charges right now pending against the passenger, so we can't really speak to any more information about her identity or anything like that. But not to say that there won't be something in the future, but at this time, there are no charges pending against her.
Why is Homeland Security involved?
I will defer that to ICE to speak to that, but what we did at this point is we use every asset and every law enforcement partner we can to ensure that we could track down our suspects.
Could you speak to the jet ski? Just any basic information about who owned it, or was it rented, under what circumstances? Because my understanding is, there are legal requirements for someone to operate a rented jet ski. Can you go into some details to clarify this for our viewers?
Correct. Yes, you are correct. So in the state of Texas, if you want to operate what we call a livery, which is the business of renting a boat or jet skis in the public waters, you have to have proper permitting. And we are investigating that as part of this investigation also. We're looking into that. As far as the ownership of the jet ski, what we're doing, actually, we had a marine theft unit come in and begin to go through the jet ski to try to get ownership history to kind of figure out where it came from, how did it end up there. But that's still part of the process of the investigation. We don't have an answer to that right now.
Is there any indication that alcohol could have been a factor in the crash?
At this point, it's an ongoing investigation. That hasn't come up, or we haven't made that decision or found any evidence at this point, but that's still ongoing. We're trying to look into all those right now.
You said earlier that after the accident, the driver left to return the jet ski to the park. I know we were just talking, you're investigating the ownership of it, so I guess you don't know if that was something that the park was renting out, or?
No, it wasn't the park. And when we say return, basically what we meant by that is after the immediate collision happened on the water, they returned on the jet ski to land, and then departed the area trying to flee.
But what's the relationship between the male suspect and the female suspect that are now in custody?
At this time, what we know is they knew each other and they got in the vehicle and fled together. We don't know if they are, at that point, did they know each other more as far as relationship and stuff? That's still under investigation. We can't really answer that right now.
Can you speak to how many game wardens were out on this busy holiday weekend? Where exactly were they? And please speak to some witnesses who say, especially since y'all are saying that she went by at a high rate of speed several times, where were you guys? And speak to, please, the public who is questioning that part.
Absolutely. So we did have Texas game wardens on the water that day, patrolling Lake Grapevine. We had a boat with 2 game wardens on that water. At this time, we had boats on holiday weekends on all the major bodies of waters throughout the DFW area: Lake Louisville, Grapevine, Benbrook, Eagle Mountain, and so forth. So we have limited resources, and we have to spread them out a little bit thinly. But we did have a boat on Grapevine. They just happened to not be in that area when this incident happened. But I will tell you that multiple times we will get calls from dispatch or public of complaints of jet skis, and if we are in the area, we immediately respond. But even if not, we come there as quickly as possible to address the issue. And what you brought up is a good point. With jet skis, we want everybody to be safe. A 50-foot rule is a standard rule for jet skis. What that means is if you're operating a jet ski, you must not be going any faster than what we call headway speed or slow idle if you're within 50 feet of any object or the shoreline in water, which obviously if they had applied that law as they were supposed to, this incident wouldn't have happened.
Were there any injuries in the car wreck when the two fled and hit 2 other vehicles?
Not that I'm aware of, but again, that is being led by Grapevine PD, so anything that refers to that portion of the investigation, I would have to refer to them.
Do you have anything on other fatalities or anything that have occurred with jet skis on Grapevine Lake or any of the other lakes in North Texas?
I don't have those stats with me now. I do know that we have had other fatalities involving jet skis throughout the state of Texas, obviously in the past years, but I do not have those numbers or information with me right now.
Do you know how close to the shore the accident happened?
Oh, that's still under investigation right now to determine that.
Can kayakers be basically anywhere out on the water, or are there any rules for kayakers as well?
Good question. So kayakers are what we consider paddlecraft. And so paddlecraft have the right to be on public water just like anybody else. They have to meet certain safety requirements like other boaters, wearing life jackets, having sound producing device and things like that. But it is a responsibility of everybody boating and kayaking to be looking out for everybody else on the public waters of the state of Texas.
The governor mentioned the death penalty. Is that at all in the cards here?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
The governor mentioned on social media the death penalty. Is that at all in the cards?
As of now, we have filed manslaughter charges. All of that is left, obviously, to the courts to run through the system. But what we are looking at right now, what we have filed initially are manslaughter charges.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Will the federal representatives be able to speak to us about immigration status and some of those questions?
Yes, I would gladly hand it over to them if they'd like to.
Is that me?
You're it.
What can you tell us about the immigration status of these two individuals?
Yeah, so I just want to say my name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE ERO in Dallas, Texas. And our thoughts go out to Ava Moore's family. And I can speak to both individuals that were previously mentioned here were Venezuelan nationals in the country illegally. And we've lodged immigration detainers with the facility. Once the state of Texas goes through the process and the criminal charges, we'll take custody of them once the state of Texas is finished with them.
Can you please expand on their actual status, given that they are here in the country illegally? Does that mean that they came into the country, crossed illegally, and have they then applied for asylum? That needs to be cleared out for the public.
Sure. It's my understanding both individuals crossed the southern border in 2023 or 2024. They were arrested at the time of entry, processed for a notice to appear, and then released on their own recognizance.
For Amanda Michaela, could you talk to me a little bit about the public response from the internet to the videos that possibly aided in the apprehension of these two, to the people who carried Ava from the water? Kind of talk to me, you talked about the community, talk to me about really this community outpouring and how that's aided not only in the investigation but also in the possible healing for this family.
Well, I will say as a community, Grapevine is a resilient community, very family-oriented, and I think that speaks a lot to who we are, both as a department and a city. And I think that always helps this community heal, all of North Texas. Families come together. When we spoke to the family, they have talked about the overwhelming outpouring of support, that they are getting more outreach than they can even know what to do with at this point. And that it's a lot, and that they have been praying, and that they're very grateful for what they have, and that it's so much that they just need to grieve and process right now, but that it has been a lot.
Is there anything that y'all would be able to say about Ms. Moore, type of person she is, anything y'all can share with us about her?
So Ms. Moore was a current student in the United States Air Force Academy. Her family was very proud and mentioned that. They have received outpouring of support from both her school she was at, their church, family, and friends. And they just want this to stay focused on their loss and what they're experiencing, and emphasize all the good works Ava did, and just focus on her and keep this, the reason we're all here is to honor Ava and her family.
Do you happen to know the name of the church?
At this time, I want to respect their privacy and let them keep going through their process.
Ms. Amanda, did either of the suspects have anything to say at the time of their arrest, or therefore after, or afterward? Did they say anything about like what they say happened, or whether they said it was an accident, whatever?
I mean, that's part of the investigation.
I have another question about their immigration status. So after the charges are tried in court, how is that going to work on the immigration front? Will they be deported?
So both individuals will have to see an immigration judge who will decide whether they are removed back to Venezuela.
But there will be a bond, correct? There will be an immigration hold, would you say?
I would think that a bond would be inappropriate in this case.
Do the suspects have any other ties to criminal organizations?
I don't have that information.
Thank you.
How soon can that happen that they will see a judge?
Right now they're in the custody of the state, and so once the state is finished with their state charges, they'll turn them over on the ICE detainer, and then they will proceed through the immigration process.
Is there anyone who could talk about how the situation went through yesterday? Walk us through the events of taking her into custody, please.
I won't be able to get into too much detail with that because it was an operation and I personally was not there. But what I can say, it was a joint operation among different agencies together, working, bringing in all of our resources in to find these individuals and bring them in. But as far as everything leading up to that point, again, this is an ongoing investigation, and I can just say that it was just the hard work of multiple agencies working together to ensure that we bring justice.
Excuse me, I was there yesterday, And I remember hearing that she was held up on the upstairs and wouldn't come down. Can you guys talk about that?
I have no details on that right now.
We'll allow 2 more questions and then we're going to wrap up.
Could you just speak to the, just the scene itself, how tragic and callous, perhaps, if that's a word that you want to use, of this could have been just a horrible accident if they had stayed, but then how the public got involved, not only trying to save Ava, but also literally trying to stop these people from leaving. Can you give us a little bit of part in all of this?
Absolutely. Horrific scene. The tragic, unnecessary death of anybody on the public waters of the state of Texas is something that we're always fighting to try to deter and stop from happening. And this is a great example of that. As Texas game wardens, public safety is our primary concern when on the public waters of the state of Texas to keep people safe. That scene showed how the community came together to try to do what they could to help when they saw something horrible happen. And that is what I like to kind of concentrate on this right now, is that the public came to her aid and tried to do what they could possibly do there until first responders could get there. As far as the other portion of the crowd getting involved with the suspects and things like that, that's, I've heard a lot of reports. We've all seen the videos out there, and that's part of our ongoing investigations and things that we're not going to really speak to right now as we try to figure those things out. But it is a tragic situation, and I hope that people will take this and use this opportunity to not only remember Miss Moore, but also to remember to be safe on the public waters. That when you do things out on the public waters, when you make decisions, they not typically only affect you, but they will affect the people around you. So take that moment to try to be safe in everything that you do there and be responsible.
Captain, can we just get the spelling of your last name, please?
Absolutely. Spelling of my last name is Quintero.
Just what happens now, just for all of us?
Sure. As we said before, we will continue on in our investigation. We're having our game warden forensics reconstruction and mapping team coming in now. So we have a forensics team that can come in, map, and actually use technology to recreate the boat accident. And that is our next step. And they will be coming here and doing that, and then we will be collecting all that information and continuing on building the case for submission.
Before we wrap up, we also get spellings of everybody else too. So.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
So we will thank you all again for attending and your attention this morning. We'll be distributing a press release later today that'll have the spellings and all of that information in it regarding the case.
Will they do a computer in Spanish?
I'm sorry?
Or sound in Spanish?
Not at this time, I don't believe. So, thank you.
All right, Chip, thanks. Police arrested the woman that they say caused a deadly hit-and-run crash on a jet ski on Lake Grapevine.
They say she drove into an 18-year-old kayaker, killing her. Another man also arrested related to this whole incident. Fox 4's Peyton May live at Grapevine Police Department with the latest. Peyton.
Yes, Lauren, police say 18-year-old Ava Moore was hit and killed by a jet ski while kayaking over Memorial Day weekend. Now, while this investigation continues, local authorities and now ICE officials are involved. Authorities say Carolyn Gonzalez was the driver of the jet ski and allegedly fled this scene with Mikel Peroso after hitting Ava Moore. While leaving the area, police say the suspects hit 2 other vehicles. Now, according to arrest records, bystanders tried to restrain the suspects, but people they were with helped them escape. Both suspects were arrested in Oak Cliff. Our Fox 4 photographer, Ricardo Cortez, was there as law enforcement surrounded a home off Atlas Drive. A witness from this scene of the crash says she saw the suspects flee.
Turned around to look at the water, and I could see her and the passenger on the jet ski going away from the incident, and they were waving toward like their people, and you could tell they were trying to get away.
Ava Moore was a recent U.S. Air Force Academy preparatory school graduate. Following her death, someone shared a photo of the suspect with Texas game wardens, who released it to the public. Now, on Tuesday morning, authorities identified her as Carolyn Gonzalez. She's charged with felony manslaughter, and her bond is set at $500,000. Attorney General Ken Paxton says she was in the country illegally. She and Proso are both reportedly from Venezuela. Now, we will have more information during a press conference happening this morning. Reporting live in Grapevine, I'm Peyton May for Good Day.
A cyclist is recovering after being hit by a driver who was being chased by Garland police. It happened Saturday morning about 9 a.m. Police say the suspect hit the cyclist and kept on going with him on the windshield before he eventually fell off. He survived. Justin Johnson is now facing several charges. That's the driver. Fox 4's Amelia Jones spoke to a friend of the cyclist tonight. Amelia.
Steve, as you mentioned, the cyclist who was hit is expected to recover. I spoke with another cyclist who was riding at night right next to him, and he told me the crash happened in a split second, and he's still wrapping his mind around what happened.
This is a Saturday route that's been going on for decades.
Last Saturday was no different. The cyclist group set off from East Dallas like normal, but as they were nearing the end of the ride,
In an instant, we heard a roar of a car coming up behind us. There was a honk, and then Jim was gone.
fellow cyclist Jim Martin was hit by a speeding Dodge Charger, then carried on the hood for nearly half a mile before it crashed into two other vehicles, throwing him off.
I couldn't see him left or right behind me, and then a second later I could see him kind of peeking over the top of the car, and it was just horrifying.
These photos show the aftermath of the crash. Martin was taken to a hospital, and he is expected to recover.
And I went back to check on Jim, and of course, like most of the cyclists, he asked where his bike was.
Police were chasing the suspect, Justin Johnson, after a domestic violence incident in Garland. A woman called saying he hit her and busted the windows of her cars. When officers found and tried to pull him over, they say he threw drugs at the window, then drove off. During the chase is when police say he hit Martin.
It's your Saturday morning. You've done it 100 times, and you've seen that route, you've seen these people, nothing's unusual, and just to have a person disappear right in front of you, it's hard to wrap your mind around. It really is.
Greg Murph says he's going to find a new Saturday morning route from now on.
It's a miracle that he's okay.
Johnson is currently being held here at the Dallas County Jail. He faces multiple charges. They include family violence, evading arrest, causing serious injury, and tampering with evidence. Police say there was a warrant out for him when the crash happened due to a parole violation. It's still unclear what the violation was for. Public records show that Johnson's criminal history dates back to 2011, and he has served time for multiple burglary convictions. Steve, back to you.
All right, that's Amelia Jones reporting. Amelia, thanks. Newly obtained arrest records are revealing what police believe happened right before and after a fatal hit and run with a jet skier on Grapevine Lake.
The operator of the jet ski, Carolyn Alejandra Gonzalez, arrested this morning in Dallas. Police also revealed they arrested Michael Proso for helping Gonzalez flee the scene. ICE confirms they're also investigating the two on immigration matters. It says the Air Force reveals that victim, 18-year-old Ava Moore, was set to join its academy. Fox 4's David Santendry joins us now with the latest from police. David.
Yeah, Heather and Steve, and tonight we are learning more about what led to that crash. According to a newly obtained arrest warrant affidavit, that jet ski was traveling at a high rate of speed and in close proximity to swimmers and others. The kayakers had made the decision to paddle away from the area and were in the process of doing so when Gonzalez struck the kayak operated by Ava Moore from behind. It's reported that bystanders tried to apprehend those suspects and actually were able to do so with an occupant on that jet ski, but the driver got away, but not before a photo was taken with her, of her, and shared with law enforcement.
The police came and they went to that house right there.
Oak Cliff neighbors rattled Tuesday morning as law enforcement surrounded a home off Atlas Drive.
I don't really care what people do around me. I don't care if it's cops involved, SWAT involved, whatever. I just mind my own business.
But while trying to stay to himself, Angel Gonzalez could not help hear authorities demand two people, reportedly on the run from a deadly lake crash, surrender.
I mean, everything that our officers and all the agencies have been doing is for Ava Moore.
18-year-old Ava Moore, a recent U.S. Air Force Academy preparatory school graduate, was killed after being struck by a jet ski while kayaking on Grapevine Lake Sunday.
And then I heard someone in the crowd say she hit someone, and so I automatically turned around to go back toward the water because I was concerned.
Lisa Scrayback there as a group pulled Moore from the lake.
You know, we just started life-saving measures, checking her pulse at that time.
But Moore passed away, and the woman on the jet ski fled.
I turned around to look at the water, and I could see her and the passenger on the jet ski going away from the incident, and they were waving toward like their people, and you could tell they were trying to get away.
Someone shared this photo of the suspect with Texas game wardens, who released it to the public. It's shared thousands of times across social media. Tuesday morning, authorities identified her as Dicarolyn Alejandro Gonzalez Gonzalez. Attorney General Ken Paxton says she was in the country illegally, and we saw immigration officials on scene early Tuesday. Gonzalez was located inside this Oak Cliff home. A woman renting here, who does not want to show her face, says several rooms inside are rented. She claims she first saw Gonzalez Monday night with a man who lives there.
It seemed like her photo was so clear that she would just be caught very soon.
Gonzalez now in custody for the death of Moore, according to game wardens. On top of that, Grapevine police say Mikel Coelho Perozzo, also a reported illegal immigrant from Venezuela, will face additional charges for a vehicle crash while driving away from the lake with Gonzalez.
Where they crashed into two different vehicles and got out of the car and ran away.
Had some Oak Cliff neighbors known they were reportedly hiding next door, they say they would have called 911.
I would probably try to tip them off and tell them that they were here.
Gonzalez is facing several charges, the most significant being manslaughter. Texas game wardens will have a press conference tomorrow morning. We'll make sure to have a crew out there. For now, Heather, Steve, back to y'all.
All right, Davidson Tendry, thank you.
Well, this afternoon we made an arrest in the hit and run land crash that happened this weekend. Right now we've made a charge for accident involving collision, and we anticipate another charge tomorrow. So our detectives have been interviewing that suspect right now. And we're going to keep going. We've had detectives working on this day and night, and we want to make sure that we get justice for Ava Moore and everyone in this case, just like every agency that's been working on it.
Was that suspect picked up at the same location as the female in the...
Yes.
Okay. So that arrest was made this morning?
Yes.
Okay.
Could you tell us his name?
I'll have to get it. Yes, I can. I can release it. I can get you a mugshot today, too.
Okay. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Any other details about that land crash that you can tell us? What do you know about what happened?
So I know that this man was at the lake and got in the car with the suspect from the jet ski accident. They drove to Turner Road here in Grapevine, where they crashed into two different vehicles and got out of the car and ran away. So we were able to track down the location of where we found the suspects and arrested them today.
Can you tell me the feeling having these people now in custody?
I mean, everything that our officers and all the agencies have been doing is for Ava Moore. And I don't ever want to lose sight of that. I know the officers, the agencies involved, want to make sure that focus stays on the victim in this case, and that is this 18-year-old girl. And everyone in this case has put in hours well beyond what they normally do because they want justice, and they want to make sure that they catch the people who are responsible for this, and they want to get them into custody. And everyone wants to do their job well, and they want to do it for Ava's family.
Last question, because he was allegedly helping her leave after she committed a crime. Could there be additional charges for him?
Absolutely. We do anticipate more charges for him.
A bill preventing cities or counties from having a gun buyback program could soon be headed to the governor's desk.
Democrats say it's another example of state Republicans limiting what local officials can do. Fox 4's Stephen Dial in studio with more on what comes next. Stephen.
There was some lengthy debate about this. Law enforcement agencies have used these events so people can safely get rid of unwanted or unsecured firearms in their homes. Democrats who voted against the bill argue that this is the state blocking local governments from making their own decisions. House Bill 3035 sparked a lengthy debate Monday in the Texas Senate. The bill bans local governments from operating gun buyback programs.
Across the country, we've seen a growing trend of government-sponsored efforts to diminish civilian firearm ownership under the guise of crime reduction.
State Senator Bob Hall, who represents eastern parts of North Texas, is who pushed the bill on the Senate side. He argued buyback programs are a waste of tax dollars. Only a few North Texas law enforcement agencies have gun buyback programs. A popular one last year was one that NBA Hall of Famer Shaquille O'Neal sponsored for the Dallas County Sheriff's Office. Shaq put up the money for gift cards given to those who turned guns in. Dallas County Senator Royce West called the bill government overreach.
For some strange reason, you don't think that they have the common sense to decide whether or not a gun buyback program in their community would be a wise program for their community.
It has nothing to do with good sense. It has everything to do with the wise use of the money, and the proper role of government.
In 2021, a study with the National Bureau of Economic Research looked at if gun buyback programs reduce crime. The study looked at 335 buyback events in 277 cities over a 24-year span. The author of the study said buybacks have done little to reduce gun crime or firearm-related violence. Senator Hall also thinks buybacks don't work, but he focused his argument on the financial aspect of the situation.
Now, I think what this bill is doing is serving the people of Texas by making sure that money is not wasted on things that are ineffective.
You don't want to go there.
Senator Royce West was saying you don't want to go there because in Democrats' eyes, some things that have been passed from both chambers are interesting spending. A third vote is needed before it goes to Governor Abbott's desk. It's likely that it will go to the governor's desk. It's unclear what Governor Abbott's stance is on this topic.
All right, Stephen Dial in studio. Thank you.
The woman accused of hitting and killing an 18-year-old on with a jet ski and then leaving the scene has been arrested. Good evening, I'm Steve Eager.
I'm Heather Hayes. That crash on Sunday killed a young woman who had recently been accepted into the Air Force Academy. Attorney General Ken Paxton says a second arrest has been made as well. Fox 4's Sean Rabb live at Grapevine Police and Public Safety with more. Sean.
Yeah, and that second arrest is the man who was driving when they left Grapevine Lake and literally hit another car in the parking area there. The Attorney General's fugitive unit was part of the arrest team this morning in Oak Cliff, and let me tell you, it was a massive team. In fact, our cameras were present. Photographer Ricardo Cortez was there as it went down a little after 11. DPS, Grapevine Police, game wardens, and federal agents and others. They used drones to look up into the second floor of this blue two-story house, and they found who they were looking for hiding in a second-story room there. DeKaylin Alejandra Gonzalez. Again, she was arrested, tied to the death of Ava Renee Moore. Ava Moore was kayaking when she was hit by a jet ski with two women on it. The passenger stayed at the scene, but the driver, that's this woman, Gonzalez, she fled with a man. Both of those now in custody. Handcuffs on her, a picture posted by game wardens as she was being led away from that house in Oak Cliff. Game wardens are leading the investigation into the hit and run on the water. Grapevine Police, obviously the ancillary investigation of the hit and run in the parking area, and on scene today, federal agents. ICE, Immigration, Customs informants, as well as Homeland Security. So a big case, two people in custody, and a lot of the investigation still to come. We have not heard yet, again, had the opportunity to talk to anybody involved in this. We know that people took pictures of this woman on their cell phones as she tried to leave on Sunday. Those pictures widely circulated. We heard from people who identified her, but under a different name. Partly her right name and a different last name, perhaps an alias name. We don't know, though, what charges exactly she will face in the coming days, but a big case here in North Texas.
All right, Sean, just kind of wrap this up. The person who was on the back of the jet ski, not taken into custody at this point, just interviewed, or how's that gone?
Yes, that person stayed on scene. That person talked with investigators Sunday, and to our knowledge was not taken into custody. There was another man who also talked with Grapevine police and game wardens on Sunday. To our knowledge, not taken into custody. We know of 2 arrests, and that's the man who drove her away, and of course Alejandra Gonzalez found in that upstairs room at 4708, killed there, just a few blocks south of the VA hospital this morning.
One other question. How unusual is it for Ken Paxton to be the guy who's giving the news releases on these things? Is that unusual in your experience from what you've covered over the years?
So whenever the Attorney General's police unit, his fugitive unit, is involved, it's not uncommon for him to send out statements or emails. If you think about it, he's done this oftentimes when it comes to cases involving child pornography, cases involving even child support that someone's been way behind on. So it's not unusual for the Attorney General to send out a release when his unit is somehow involved. But it was Dallas police offering the major support to Grapevine and the game wardens on today.
Got it. All right. Sean Rabb, appreciate your coverage. Thank you.
Hey, everybody move to the right side of the car. Open the door, dude. I'm not opening. You kidding me? Get out. Go.
Something down right here. Yeah, sorry, dispatch A8. They are south on 75. South on 75. Clear south on 75. It looks like they're about to do the U-turn. Going back southbound 19.
Clear back southbound on 19.
Sorry, southbound from 2nd Avenue.
That's clear from St. Vincent Avenue.
They're going the wrong way on 19. Wrong way on 19.
Hey, everybody move to the right side of the car. Open the door, dude. I'm not opening. You kidding me? Get out. Go with them.
Got hands if everybody can hold it.
Jumbo, good hands? Shut up. Unlock the door with your right hand. Crawl to, no, Jumbo, back up. Crawl to him.
Put it in the car. Put it in the car. All the way out.
Crawl. Back to clear. 93, slow everybody down.